get to practice one. I'm the opening act for Reverend Gibbs. So, I'd like to first start the Dharma message with a quote. I am such that I do not know right and wrong, and cannot distinguish false and true. I lack even small love and small compassion, and yet for love and fame and profit enjoy teaching others. This is from our leader, Shinran Shonin. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Okay. I've been thinking about one of the Eightfold Noble Paths, which is right view. How Buddhism teaches us to be grateful and truly see this life as a wonderful privilege and adventure. And my focus today is on athletics. As you can see from the first quote, is from a gold medalist figure skater. Not all of us, athletics is so focused on whether you win or lose, or whether he's a star, he hits the home run or doesn't hit the home run. Not all of us can win a gold medal or hit the game-winning basket. But the character of a person is sometimes overlooked in our view of victory. I just saw the Masters. I don't know if any of you are interested in the Masters golf tournament. And I watched Rory McIlroy. He won the Masters golf tournament, but this was his second time. The first time he won it, he thought, I made it. I made it to the top of the mountain. But it's interesting, but this wasn't the end of his journey. He said he thought winning the Masters last year was the ultimate goal. But this year, he realized it's part of the journey to discover more about himself and what's really important. And to me, the most beautiful scene, it was about his hugging his little daughter and being so happy that his parents were there, as well as his wife, of course. We are so caught up in the win that maybe we forget to see those quiet moments and those qualities that make us really proud about our children and even the star athletes we admire. So I'd like to talk about two things related to me. My nephew, Kyle Higashioka, who's a professional baseball player, and my son, Michael, my younger son, when he was playing high school basketball. So my nephew, Kyle Higashioka, is a professional baseball player. He's a catcher with the Texas Rangers, but he spent many years playing with the Yankees as a backup catcher, and then 1 year as a San Diego Padre. And I have seen him hit home runs, and one time I saw him throw out Shohei Ohtani at second base. We got very excited. And and he caught the perfect game. It's one of maybe 24 perfect games in the history of baseball. Yet I will never forget the moment that made me the proudest. It was after a Dodger-Yankee game, and we always meet him at the bus, before he goes to the hotel. And he was one of the last players to come out to board the bus. But what he saw when he came out were a bunch of very devoted Yankee fans waiting at the fence. It was very dark. He's not a star player, but he quietly went to greet these fans and sign memorabilia. And I think, and afterwards, of course, he came to say hello to the family, but he was the only player to do so, and he was last to board the bus. Of course, he came to say hello to all of us. But what I really admired about him is he thought of the fans who had waited so patiently and knew they deserved to be acknowledged. His humility and kindness and selflessness moved me. I was really proud of who he was. And so, when you watch professional players, look for those quiet moments and appreciate it. The other story is about my son, Michael. He was on crutches with a stress fracture, but they had accepted him on the JV basketball team. He couldn't play, but he was the scorekeeper for our team at the table. I had driven through horrible LA traffic, and you know what that's all about. We're probably cursing all the way to the game, thinking, why am I doing this? And, you know, I thought, why should I be going to these games? He's not even playing. Yet this game taught me my most humbling and greatest lesson. I learned that we need to show up when they're sitting on a bench or unable to play. Otherwise, you might miss a special moment that had nothing to do with his playing. You know, all I was thinking about was the traffic, and why am I wasting my time here? And then I saw my 15-year-old son at the scorekeeper's table tell the referee that the possession arrow was wrong. And he did it calmly, confidently, to make sure the referees knew. I honestly can't remember any baskets he made or any kind of plays, but I will always remember this moment of maturity and growth of my teenage son. If I hadn't been at this game, which I thought was not important because he wasn't playing, I would have missed the moment. So to all the sports parents, be there, especially when they're riding the bench, okay? Because my selfish view is, of course, I want to shine as a parent because I'm the parent of this star who made the game-winning shot. So this is just a reminder to enjoy the highlight moments of athletics, but don't forget to look for those moments that inform us about someone's character and what's important in this life. That's where you will find and feel gratitude. Don't look for the shiny medals, which actually I have a couple of, I actually have a few of these through my martial art, but breathe. So don't focus on the shininess of the medals, but breathe to see those quiet, beautiful moments when you see kindness and character. To be able to see clearly and with wisdom and compassion is something very special indeed in this life. So when we talk about right view, and this is one of the Eightfold Noble Path, it's the lesson that Buddha wants us to see clearly without the blindness of our ego. We will always be grateful for right view if we only open our eyes, ears, and heart to see the beauty of this life and the human spirit that we have a privilege to be a part of. So I'd like to end this talk with another quote about the right view from Kahn Franz from The Lion's Roar. The practice of right view is to make a choice, moment by moment, not to focus our gaze on how we want things to be, not to ignore parts we wish weren't there, and not to close our eyes. It's looking at what's right in front of us. So let me end this with our Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Yeah. Thank you very much for allowing me to talk, and now Sensei is the main show, so please listen very carefully.
Namo Amida Butsu. You never know what's the main show, I saw Jimi Hendrix in 1969, and this group opened for him that had never released an album yet, Chicago. And when they played I'm a Man, I got to tell you, it was the peak of the evening. Hendrix wasn't his best night. So hey, I think you're the main show today. What I'm going to talk about is a little bit related. Cathy's talking about right view. I'm going to talk about the next step in the Eightfold Path, which is conduct, proper conduct, decent, wholesome conduct. But the deeper connection is a matter of character. But it is a matter of each of us is a person with a certain character, and our point is to maintain that character. Now, not always do the right thing. Who knows what the right thing is half the time? But to be the kind of person you are, the kind of person you're comfortable being, the kind of person that you can be proud to be. Thanks, Alan. Yeah, I don't know. It was on earlier. Don't get tired and close yourself off. I want to thank everybody. I want to thank Alan for doing the tech. I wouldn't have known the mic was off without Alan. I want to thank Howard Hayes for playing organ, and Kyoko for assisting Cathy and Ali Sensei in cleaning the Hondo and the Naijin and also doing our flowers. In recent weeks, I've been speaking with you about the Buddhist emphasis on wholesome living, wholesome conduct, this concept of being wholesome. And I've talked about how that differs from naming actions and things to be good or evil. Now, I want to make a related point today. Monotheistic religions encourage us toward moral righteousness, which they claim to know about, doing the right thing, doing the proper thing. Buddhism encourages us to conduct ourselves in a wholesome way, and this requires figuring it out on a case-by-case basis each time. I'm going to frame all this in terms of an apocryphal story. You know, when they say apocrypha, that has two different meanings. In scholarly circles, it means this isn't really authentic. But in colloquial language, it just means there's this story, you know, and this guy said it happened, but I don't think it happened when he said it did, but it's happened. It happened, and this has happened. And this story is the gentleman and is with his very young son at the market, and after putting the groceries in the car, they walk the basket back to put it in the place where you keep the baskets. And the little boy, say 5, 6 years old, say, "Daddy, why did we do that? Everyone else is just leaving the baskets in the parking lot, and the people from the store get it later." And the father's response is, because that's the kind of people that we are. We're the kind of people who return the basket. Buddhists are like that. Buddhists are like that about some things. For example, to mention a big thing, we never authorize wars. It's just not the sort of people we are. It's not the sort of religion we are. The Buddhist religion does not prohibit participation in the military, nor prohibit participation in wars, as do several denominations of Christian teaching, including, of course, famously the Society of Friends, the Quakers. If you come to a Quaker meeting with your military uniform, you'll be asked to leave. If you bring your military uniform to this Hondo, you'll be welcomed. We won't say anything about it. That's fine. You be here. But there's a difference there, you know. We don't authorize wars. We don't prohibit our members from participating, but it's never got our okay. We endeavor not to harm ourselves or others. Monotheistic religions tend to give you a set of rules for ethical behavior. Now, as Buddhists, we try to find the most wholesome path. Albeit we do have guidelines, we do receive guidelines, you know, and on the surface it's all very similar. Don't kill, don't steal, don't lie, don't misuse human sexuality, don't abuse alcohol and substances, you know. But, you know, on the one hand, don't kill, we voice unequivocally, don't kill. Now, Judaic tradition says, if you talk to the rabbis, don't murder. So there's some killing that's not murder. Killing is killing for Buddhists. Don't do it. Don't do it. Do you ever have to do it? I don't know. We never had our recommendations to do it or authorizations to do it. Don't kill. The next precept that's usually listed is don't lie. This is a little, in this day and age, this is not so straightforward as it might be. You know, there's a passage in the sutras very much like the Rotarians says, say that which is true. If it'll do some good to say it, when it's going to do some good to say it. Now, if we follow that advice rigorously, we're going to become a very quiet group of people. How often do you know this is the time, this is true, this is the time? Oh man, we're never going to know that. That's ideal. Ideally, you say what's true at exactly the right moment, if good to say it. But really, it's just try to speak gently, kindly, productively. There are times in the current world, in these days, in these times, when what is wholesome speech and what is not is very hard to determine. However, again, on the Pure Land path, we do endeavor to speak gently, kindly, and in encouraging ways. The next one you did mention, do not steal, is what you usually put. This is also something that requires some nuancing in the present context. These days, what counts as cheating on your taxes, right? I mean, there's all these things you could do or you couldn't do, and which one's kind of fudging? I don't know. I'm the last person on earth to tell you that. What's fair economically? Sometimes it's really hard to say. It's really hard. What's a fair tip? Those of you who go to lunch with me and stuff know, I have become, in my old age, a big tipper. I just say to myself what some people tell you. So I'm not telling you this, but I tell myself, if I can't afford to tip, I can't afford to eat out. You know, these people work hard. These people are exposed to every dang virus and bacteria that's going around. I'm going to tip well. I'm going to go up. That's me. You decide for yourself. Stealing, the actual precepts as they're written in the oldest text are not too helpful on stealing because they're written for monks and nuns. And the rule is, don't take that which is not given. Well, that's really straightforward. You live by no donations. They gave me this. It's mine now. They didn't give it to me. It's sitting there. I don't touch it. That's really simple for monks and nuns. We're not monks, nor are we nuns. And it's sometimes complex. Try to live in a wholesome, decent way. Sometimes that involves behaving in a way that people 50 years ago would have thought was indecent or unwholesome. You just have to figure it out, moment by moment, time after time. Can't think of that remark of the Father to the Son that verses. What kind of people are we? Are we the kind of people who takes up which we should not take? We're the kind of people who return the oh goodness. I don't know what's happening here. We're cutting in and out. Battery probably died.
Oh, in here or over there?
No, there.
Up here? Oh, I see. Okay, we'll switch mics here in a minute. It won't affect you much. It will affect the people at home. I'm sorry you're getting parts of the message kind of quietly, but you know, it is a matter of character, as Cathy was speaking. You have to be a person of a certain character, and there are certain things you just don't do. Should no one do them? I don't know. I've never killed a living human being, and some of you come to Seneca, I recall and regret killing insects. I don't even like killing insects. I killed a wasp on the porch there about 3 years ago. I think about it all the time. So, I mean, should no one kill anyone ever? I don't know. That's not the kind of person I am, and that's not the kind of people that Buddhists are, to go around killing other human beings or any advanced form of life. You know, like I told you last week, clams, well, I don't know. Clams have one nerve and one muscle. Doesn't seem to be a mechanism there for fear, anxiety, sorrow. But, you know, vegetarianism is great, and if you're not vegetarian, eat a lot of clams.
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Test. Whoa, yes, we are. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Alan. Boy, this one has a battery all right.
This is great. We get an extra show. Alan's part of our Dharma talks.
We tell you how much Alan does for us, but he's sitting in the back, and often you don't see it.
Yeah.
We'd be lost without Alan Goto. So again, what kind of people are we in the economic dimension of our lives? That's the important question. Who are you comfortable being? How are you comfortable living? What do you think is decent and wholesome? Now, I'm covering the 5 basic precepts here, the 5 basic moral prohibitions for Buddhists, but my theme is the difference between the monotheistic dualism between good and evil and our Buddhist attempts to chart a suitable path, a reasonable, respectable way of living. There's not an absolute divide. The precept usually listed forth is, do not misuse human sexuality. The point is to avoid hurting oneself and others. And that in itself is a major difference between our religion and some other religions. We want to be good in relation to others, and we want to be honorable in relation to others, and we want to be comfortable with our own character, what it is. In doing well, for Buddhists, it's always a matter of jiririta. As we are trying to do something for others, we realize we're being benefited by that. And as we benefit ourselves, we realize that that benefits others. We don't acknowledge an absolute split between oneself and others. That's why we don't have an absolute split between good and evil. It's one world, and we want health, happiness, and safety for all, as much as is possible for all living beings, including ourselves. The final of the basic 5 precepts I will give you in literal translation from a very old text, which is, do not deal in wine and delusion. And a friend of mine who is a scholar, Ronald Davidson, he's looked into this and says, the reason this is written, do not deal in wine and delusion, it originally was a prohibition against selling hard liquor. And what we translate as wine is actually hard liquor. They made a distinction. This beer, you could drink a lot of, couldn't you mess your life up just as bad by drinking really a lot of beer? Well, in principle you can, but what they saw were these people drinking this hard stuff were running into trouble. So does it mean you don't drink it? It means it probably wouldn't be a good, wholesome way to earn your living to sell that to other people. That's all. But as time went on, certainly going through Uyghur and translating from Uyghur into Chinese, it came to be don't drink alcohol. But that is for the monks and nuns, and that makes sense. For us, it is really a matter of moderation. Don't overdrink. Don't harm yourself or others by overdrinking or overusing substances. And there are substances that the Buddha didn't know about. So, as I sometimes mention to you, Sri Lankan particularly, but also Thai monks are famous for smoking tobacco. They love cigars. The Buddha never said anything about it. Well, the Buddha was about 2,000 years before any tobacco ever showed up in India, so he didn't mention it, Do not deal in wine and delusion. It really is a matter of not harming oneself and not harming others. And more specific advice is also always given in this Jiririta template. If you are doing for others, you're also being benefited. And if you're benefiting others, if you're benefiting yourself, it should be a benefit that has positive effects on others. For example, by eating well and exercising and keeping healthy, you're taking care of yourself. But you're also then not a burden on others by not picking up a cold every 6 weeks and missing work. You don't have to call in sick to work. You don't have to fail your family because you're sick. You benefit others by taking care of yourself. We do not become burdens on others. We're able to be positive and helpful. Cathy mentioned athletics, her nephew Kyle, and the fact that really the most important thing is the character you display. Athletics, when you look at the athletes, it's a lot about getting there, but it's also about the character you have in getting there. And some of us watched the Dodgers game last night, right? It was really an entertaining game for 4 or 5 innings, And then about the 6th inning, you go, we're up by 5 runs now. Oh, we're up by 7 runs now. We're up by 8. I'm getting kind of bored with this. Because it isn't just about winning. It's about having some character. And beating up on people isn't fun, whether it's literally beating up on them or just overcoming them in sports, I'll always remember the World Cup when Neymar had the back injury. And his team was doing so well, Brazil was doing so well. As soon as he lost, the Brits scored like 5 goals in 7 minutes or something ridiculous like that. That was about two World Cups ago. Yeah, nobody wants that. That's not fun. Beating up on people is not fun. You want some back and forth. But anyway, the character we display is just as important as this endeavor to get there. The business of excelling helps us to get there when we excel at something, but it's also a matter of being here. Yes, the athlete in the process of excelling is also enjoying being in the present with his or her expertise. Buddhists are on their way somewhere. We're on our way somewhere to the Pure Land, to the realm of enlightenment. But in our stream of Pure Land tradition, it's like we're being pulled up to the mothership by a tractor beam. It's not something we're endeavoring at. It's just happening. It's just happening for us. We don't worry about how close we are to getting there. We do our best to appreciate the lives that we have just now. And we try to conduct ourselves well. We try to be nice to others. Buddhism has lots of advice for us as to how to live well, how to live well. Living well, having decent, productive lives, is always about our well-being and the well-being of others. So the Buddhist advice is always both altruistic and prudential. For example, one of the 187 precepts that the monks take formally, sometimes this must be hard for them to keep a straight face. You know, in a very formal way, they say, I will not, under any circumstances, sleep on a high bed. And why not? We don't know why. With this very old rule, don't sleep on a high bed. But you know, if you look at it, whatever reason it was first given, there's two things you can see pretty clearly. One is, it looks kind of snobbish, doesn't it? It's kind of snobbery. Don't show yourself off. Don't, oh, I'm going to take the high bed, you take the little cot. So don't sleep in a special, exalted high bed. But it also means you're not going to fall off and hurt yourself. So the Spokane Temple has twice hosted the National Council at the Davenport Hotel. And those beds are like 4 feet high. It's crazy. I never saw anything like it before. And when we were there the first time, our youngest son, Ren, was about 3 years old. So we wait for him to drop off, and then we put pillows on either side of him, because we're worried if we drop off, he's going to roll off that 4-foot bed right onto that wood floor. So, yeah, I mean, it's not a matter of always doing the right thing, doing good and avoiding evil. It's largely a matter of, well, let's not do anything that makes us look really bad, and let's not do anything that's going to make us get hurt, and don't do anything that seems like bullying or snobbishness towards others. Jiririta, we must benefit others, and as we do so, we find we're getting benefited as well. Jiririta, we must find self-benefit, and in doing that, we make ourselves more capable of helping others. Again, as Buddhists, we do everything for both prudential and altruistic reasons. That's lay people. Strictly speaking, the monks only do it for prudential reasons. The way the precepts are written, I take these limitations upon myself as part of my training. I need to do this. I got to be good to you, because otherwise I won't get to be a Buddha. They kind of have that real heavy, selfish kind of orientation. It changed over time. We're talking 2,500 years ago. About 800 years later, no, it's longer than that. Let me think. 1,800 years later, posthumously, Dengo Daishi was granted permission to make the actual ordination of priests based upon the Bodhisattva vows. They still took the precepts, but they weren't ordained after taking the precepts. They were ordained after taking the Bodhisattva vows. So it was switching it. Instead of I take this limitation upon myself, it's I promise to do all this stuff for myself and for others. So there's a movement in Buddhist tradition always to be more inclusive and to be more concerned about others and to have a broader range of concern. We must take care of others. We must assist others as well as looking after ourselves. This is our way. And like the father returning the grocery cart at the grocery store, I say to you, that's just the sort of people we are. And that's my Dharma message for today. I thank Cathy for her message. I thank Ali for leading the chanting. I thank Alan for all the hard tech work. Thank you so much. And I will ask you to join me in Kasho, as you will, as you please. Namo Amida Butsu.
Namo Amida Butsu.
Namo Amida Butsu.
Namo Amida Butsu.
Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you.
Thank you.